Labour MPs have discussed a US-UK Brexit trade deal with Trump allies. I'm going to read into this exclusive from The Independent, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an exclusive from The Independent with the headline that Labour MPs have been discussing US-UK Brexit trade deal with Trump allies. The exclusive reveals that senior Labour MPs were a guest at the Heritage Foundation, the US leading right-wing think tank in Washington, D.C. this week. Guys, while you're here, make sure you hit the like button and share us across social media so others are notified of this video. So, well, the first thing that comes to my mind when I see this is that we cannot, no, regardless of what's happening with the courts and what the trial case with the former president Donald Trump, we cannot rule out the possibility that he could be the next president of the United States. That is something that Labour cannot rule out, and they cannot take any chances on that. And they have been very quiet about the criticism of Donald Trump. And they need to be, because obviously there is that distinct possibility that he could become the president again. I know we have disagreements about whether he should or shouldn't, and in my personal opinion, I think he's a very dangerous man, and he's caused a lot of harm, not just to America but to the world with some of his rhetoric and antics. But that's just me. I know some people will vehemently, so there will be some people in the comments that may vehemently disagree, but that's my position. But whether or not he becomes president or not, Labour obviously need to prepare for whatever outcome that's going to be at the US election, if Labour obviously do come to power at the UK general elections, whenever that's going to be, whether it's going to be this year or late in January 2025. And so Labour are obviously taking steps to ensure that they have the bases covered for them. And obviously the very possibility of having some kind of trade deal with the US. Now, it sounds very too good to be true, but we also have to remember that the Conservatives aren't exactly very good at keeping their words with things. So they said, obviously, when they were they discussed the whole Brexit deal, and they promised us a trade deal with the US, and that has still not happened. Now, could Labour give us a trade deal with the US? Now, if they were to pull that off, that would be a massive boon to the economy, despite everything that's happened with Brexit. It would really do well for the stock exchange. It really would do well. It would be a really positive spin on the economy if Labour were to pull that off. I don't think they're going to pull that off, if I'm absolutely honest, because they will have to make some serious concessions in doing so. Whether that is with a Trump government or a Biden administration, we will have to wait and see. But the fact that Labour MPs have been talking to leading right-wing think tanks, you can take it as them preparing for the possibility of Trump coming in, or, which is what many on the left will fear, is that this is Labour obviously turning further, leaning more right-wing than left-wing as well, is what some people may say that this may mean. But let's read what The Independent has had to say on this piece. So, speculation is mounting that Labour is paving the way to open a UK-US trade talks with a Donald Trump administration if he wins back the White House, just as Sir Keir Starmer enters Downing Street. The Independent has learned that senior Labour MPs, including Shadow Immigration Minister Stephen Kinnock and Shadow Exports Minister Tan Dhesi, were guests at the right-wing Heritage Foundation in Washington, D.C. this week. The Heritage Foundation has earned a reputation for being at the heart of a shift to the right in the Republican Party. It has led Project 2025 and preparations for the next Republican administration in the White House, including policy for document and staffing. The Shadow Minister was joined by Tory Crewe MP Kieran Mullan and pro-Trump British think tank the Legatum Institute at the discussion in Washington. These are not people that I would like to be sitting at a dinner table with, if I'm absolutely honest. The move comes after the Shadow Foreign Secretary David Lammy raised eyebrows by defending the former President Trump's NATO policy. The Independent understands that Mr Lammy also asked to speak at Heritage at a further attempt to bolster relations when he visited, but had his requests turned down. Recently, Mr Lammy's attempts to build relationship with Trump allies have been praised by Legatum for changing his previously hostile language about the former president. Because David Lammy knows that if he gives his personal opinions about how he feels about the former president, he knows that he will not be able to be foreign secretary. He knows he will not have the power that he has, and clearly David Lammy has realised that if he wants to stay in power, if he wants to have influence, he's got to make concessions, and this is one of those concessions. I don't agree with this concession in any way, shape, or form. I don't agree that he's changing his tone about Donald Trump, but I also understand from a political point of view as well. But yes, I get it from a manner of principle. How some of you may feel about this, and I agree. I agree from a manner of principle, especially about Donald Trump and his history. I agree with that. But David Lammy is doing this as an attempt to... Would you rather have someone like David Lammy, or would you like someone a lot worse in that position? Maybe some people will probably say in the comments, I'd rather have someone else as Foreign Secretary than David Lammy. And yes, he has made boo-boos in the past. There is absolutely no question that David Lammy has made boo-boos, and I'm sure people will point them out and again in the comments. But I've said this before, if Trump comes into power, the UK needs to have a relationship there. Whether Labour like it or not, they're going to have a relationship with a Trump administration. That's just the crux of it. Recently, Mr Lammy's attempts to build bridges with Trump allies have been praised by Legatum for changing his previously hostile language about the former president. Hale, who chaired the meeting at the Heritage Head of Trade Policy, also praised the Labour MPs for their engagement of a potential UK-US trade deal. He described the MPs as great and said they appear to be very favourable to a US-UK trade deal, as well as the UK joining the existing trade group with America, Canada, Mexico, the USMCA. Sarah Elliott, head of the US at Legatum, who was also president, added that Labour is definitely putting an olive branch out and showing an openness to working with Republicans. I don't like Republicans and their situation right now, but at the same time, again, it's like, they have to prepare for the worst. A trade deal with the US is one of the biggest promises made by Brexiteers during the 2016 EU referendum. However, a succession of Tory prime ministers have failed to deliver one of the following Joe Biden's victory over Trump in 2020. In her brief premiership, Liz Truss suspended the US trade talks, and Rishi Sunak has not restarted them. So much covert US trade deal would be a major victory for Keir Starmer if Labour does succeed where the Tories fail. If they were to pull this off, if they were to pull off a trade deal with the US, it would be a big deal. It's not, of course, in no way, shape, or form is this going to mitigate the damage of not being part of the EU single market, but it will help GDP for sure. Labour has closer ties with the Democrats, but appears more ready to deal with the Republicans than the current Tory leadership. Mr Kinnock told The Independent the purpose of this cross-party delegation to Washington DC was to strengthen political ties between the US and the UK across a number of key policy areas. The programme includes meetings and briefings with a diverse set of organisations ranging from Congress to the World Bank, USAID, the State Department, business groups and think tanks. A wide range of issues were discussed at every meeting, from Ukraine to trade to migration to the special relationship. Well, as far as the special relationship goes, it's not really there like it used to be. And the general truth is the reason why it's not there like it used to be is because we're no longer part of the EU. We were the pinnacle, the gap between shall we say, the head of the table when it comes to EU, but we're not there now. So it's more France becoming more of a special relationship they're building with rather than the UK. That's the grim reality, there. But should we be concerned by this? Absolutely, we should be concerned by this. But can we also understand why Labour are doing this as well? Yes. I can understand why Labour are doing this, because they are not ruling out the possibility of a Trump administration. However, I don't like the fact that they're discussing this with Republicans. I don't like the fact that they're discussing this with right-wing think tanks. I don't like the fact that they could be influenced by these kinds of people to introduce policies or ideas that are not in the favourable, the best position in the interest of the UK or its people. So that is the part which I'm very much concerned about. When they're having these discussions and going to these places. But I also understand why they need to have these discussions as well. And if Keir Starmer if Keir Starmer does pull off this trade deal, it will certainly get people talking, that is for sure. But what do you guys think? What do you guys make of this possibility? Do you think that Labour could pull it off, a trade deal with the UK-US, whether it's with a Biden administration or a Trump administration? What do you guys make of the fact that they're actually having talks with Republicans out there as well? Share your thoughts and more about all of this in the comment section down below. If you found this video informative, please hit the like button. We greatly appreciate it. Share it across social media so others are notified of this video. And subscribe, because it really does help support the channel. And if you want to go one step further, financially support me and the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p. Or join me on Rumble, Patreon, or Facebook for exclusive content on those platforms. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope to catch you all very, very soon.